I think the balance has kind of gone a little too far. People are too sensitive and don't want to offend anybody, and I think there's got to be some grit.
And because you know what? No matter what happens in your life, you're going to experience hard times.
You are listening to EMS with your hosts, Erik Axene and Matt Ball.
I'm excited about this topic today. This is something that we've been talking about for a long time, and we've never done a podcast on it.
Well, and we weren't really planning on doing a podcast, but then we got into this passionate conversation this morning, we were like, wait a minute, we should do this on camera.
And I was at a conference last week in Milwaukee talking to another fire chief, and we got fired up about this same topic.
It sounded like he got real fired up.
No, he did. Yeah, we're hoping to actually talk about it at FDIC. So
what's the topic?
How that goes. Well, I think it's a lot of people call it resilience. We were calling it grit, maybe toughness. Something that we feel like is lost a little bit now, maybe in some of the younger generation of folks coming into our industry, whether young physicians or young firefighters,
paramedics, EMTs. Yep.
So, I'll just give a medical example. There was a day when I would work 120 hours a week in the ICU training in residency, right? But now with different requirements, they're a little bit easier on the new recruits.
Yeah.
And
the baby doctors.
Yep. And I think there was a transition, and I was right in that transition. But there's been a transition within medical training, and I think a lot of people want to kind of promote family life balance, and I think those are good things. Those are good things. But I think the balance has kind of gone a little too far. People are too sensitive and don't want to offend anybody, and I think there's got to be some grit, some resilience, some toughness out there. I think we've lost something, and I think I got some people fired up at that conference. I know you and I got fired up talking about it today. So we signed up for something tough.
Yeah,
you see a lot of things most people aren't supposed to see.
That's right.
And there's going to be some tough situations.
Yeah.
And
you got to kind of power through sometimes. And I don't think, and we talked about this earlier, that, we're big on, mental health and just overall health and wellness, right? Your physical body, your mental state, all those kind of things. And so we're not in any way dismissing mental health.
No, absolutely not.
Or anything like that. However, I think that there's a balance to be struck between, taking care of your mental health and having some grit and resiliency, that life's not always going to be easy. You're not always just going to work 8 hours and go home exactly on time, or a 12-hour shift, or, you're going to have one shift on the fire engine or ambulance that's busy and one that's slow. It's not always going to be hard, and it's not always going to be easy. I think we've moved over from always hard to we want everything always easy, and especially in this modern age. And so I think there's a balance to be struck there between having resiliency, but yet having a good work-life balance. I think that is important. And I think, to some degree, that is a good thing that they've said, hey, wait a minute, we're just killing these young doctors, making them work just insane hours, and burnout. And, it's like maybe there is a balance to be struck there where we could lessen the amount of requirement. The standard is still the same, but maybe we prolong the training over, 2 years as opposed to a year, and they have a more manageable schedule over that time, as opposed to trying to cram it all into this short amount of time. Well, this is what I did. We're not saying that, taking care of yourself and having a work-life balance isn't important.
No, you're right. And I think I came from this culture where I didn't take a sick day. I didn't. I would, like I told you earlier, I'd place an IV in myself, and I didn't place the IV, but my nurse would place an IV. And I would wear long sleeves that day so it'd cover up my IV. I just, before my shift started, I got a liter of fluid, some Toradol, and some Zofran. And I felt better. And I started my shift treating patients who frankly weren't as sick as I was.
Right.
I broke my arm skateboarding, and I went to work with a broken arm.
A friend of ours took you to the hospital.
That's right. So I guess I think maybe honestly, to be totally transparent, I think I'm probably too far to one side.
Sure.
Where there are probably days I should have taken a sick day.
Right.
But in the culture in emergency medicine, it's not something that it's really not something we do.
Right.
In fact, I remember 14 years ago, I was talking to my medical director at the time. I said, so anything with sick call or anything like that? And he goes, oh, well, just let me know and I'll write you a prescription.
And come to work.
Basically come to work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing true. I mean, even in my training, you just go to work. Yeah. And now I've seen medical students where I've been attending up north, and as an attending physician, seeing some of these new baby doctors come through, or even some of the medical students that I'll work with who are scribes or hoping to be a medical student, they're, like a college age kid, not showing up for work because they got some sniffles or something.
I need a
like
mental
that.
health day.
Yeah. So that's frustrating to me sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. It's frustrating to me. I feel like that's something that we need to have in our society, but we have to have a balance though. It's being too, not looking after yourself and not finding balance and working too hard is not good either. And I fall prey to that. Yeah.
And like I said, it's a balance.
It's a balance.
Right? It's a balance. When when your body or your mind is telling you, hey, we need a break.
Yeah.
We need to take a break, whether that's you need to get some more sleep, you need to go on a vacation, just decompress for a little while. Great. Yeah. But like I remember when I got at my department, when I started in my department, we had an unwritten rule in that department that you did not take vacation and you definitely did not call in sick on a holiday.
Yeah.
You drug your butt into work. I don't care how bad you feel. You come in and they'll send you home, but you come to work on Christmas Day. Because again, like we said at the beginning, that's what you signed up for. Like I would tell people when I would do new hire orientations, like we did not come grab you off the street and come say, hey, you're going to come be a firefighter. You came to us wanting to do this job, and you knew what that job was. You knew it wasn't an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job where you had weekends off and holiday. You knew that. So that was for probably the first decade of my career. That was, like I said, if you ever, and we had guys over that time period that they came into work deathly ill and we're like, go home because we don't want you getting everybody else sick. You're truly sick, go home. Right? And so that's how it was. You never took vacation. The senior guys would actually book those days so nobody could put in for vacation. And then as that day approached, they would cancel their days and show up to work. Right? Well, then slowly that started to fade away and guys started taking vacation days on those days. When from an admin perspective, you couldn't tell them no because they have the time, there's spots available on the calendar. So from an administrative perspective, they can't come in and say, no, you can't take Christmas Day off. We have this unwritten rule on. I can do whatever I want. What are you going to do about it? Yeah. And that has evolved into, or I should say devolved into, now every holiday is booked with vacation. Everybody takes, and so all the senior guys started seeing this and saying, wait a minute, I've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. I've never taken a holiday off. Now this 1 year guy's coming in and taking Christmas off? And so they started putting their names in because it was based on seniority. Yeah. And then guys calling in sick on holidays. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like you knew going into this, that was part of the gig. And now and sometimes I remember I was the first guy in my fire department that was going to get hit with mandatory overtime on Christmas Day. So we were on 24/48s. I was working my normal shift on Christmas Eve. Nobody in the history of my department had ever been hit with mandatory overtime, meaning I was forced to stay at work.
On Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day. And the battalion called me that evening, 6, 7 o'clock that evening, saying, hey, man, I'm sorry, but so-and-so just called in sick. And and I'm not going to lie, I was pretty hot because I'm thinking, again, we had this rule, you don't call in sick.
Thinking about your girls.
Well, yeah. My kids were young at the time, and I was like, dude, I paid my dues. I came in on Christmas Eve. Like, this is my year. I get Christmas Day off. Luckily, kudos to the leadership in my department at that time. The battalion, we had battalion drivers, and they actually, because this was, like I say, unprecedented. This never happened. And the acting battalion on my shift called the battalion for the next day, Christmas Day, and said, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, can we drop staffing down by 1? And he said, yeah, I don't need a driver. He goes, I'll just go without a driver. I'll drive myself. We'll reassign the driver. It's his normal shift, and Ball doesn't have to come in on Christmas or doesn't have to stay for Christmas Day. So I didn't have to. But, again, it was because somebody called in sick.
Yeah.
And so it's like now you're kind of, for lack of a better word, you're screwing over your brothers or sisters because you want to call in sick and stay home with your family. Well, wait a second. This isn't, this is your year to work it, bro. Like, sorry. That's just, if you don't like that, go do something else.
Yeah.
And that goes to calls. Like you told me about a difficult conversation you had to have with
That was terrible.
a patient's family.
Yeah, that was terrible. I'm glad you reminded me of that. So it was a guy in his 30s, came in, family dropped him off. He ended up passing out in the waiting room, and we, emergently got him into a bed, brought him into the back, and worked him. And anyway, unfortunately, things didn't go well, and having to communicate. I'm sorry, I think I have the genders backwards, but anyway, we had to communicate with the family, who was thinking that
he was
Mommy
fine.
was fine,
or not that ill.
Yeah. So anyway, and it was one of the most difficult calls I've had to deal with, talking to
the spouse,
a spouse that was expecting, her spouse, was expecting his spouse to be okay. Yeah. And kiddos are, hey, where's mommy? And mommy didn't make it. And we didn't know that the family was waiting there. And it was kind of a tough situation. Anyway, every ounce of me wanted to just go outside and just
take a breath.
Yeah. But we had a full waiting room, and we had tons of traumas, and just as a chaotic day, you just got to keep churning and burning. It's hard, but you got to be able to, in certain environments, you have to be able to compartmentalize things. And I think it's a good thing in our industry to be able to do that. You have a bad call, to be able to compartmentalize it and move on to the next call is a good thing.
Yep.
But I think the thing I didn't do was to really process it later. I never did anything about it.
Yeah.
And those things can accumulate over time.
Yeah.
And I think it contributed to some of the burnout I felt later in my career. But I think that the balance isn't necessarily, hey, you know what? I need to call somebody in. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right? It's being aware of the fact that, boy, I'm going to need to process this later. Now might not be the time, but I'm going to need to process this later. And there are certain situations too, like we talked about, when your colleagues, I think their spouse was a patient or something.
Well, a guy from another department, who showed up on the scene, and his wife was the patient on scene, and not good.
If I had to treat my wife for a life-threatening emergency and things didn't go well, I think I'm out.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find somebody else.
Yeah.
Fire me.
Exactly. You can fire me if you want, pal, but
But that's even a form of grit too, looking out for yourself, right?
For sure.
It's like, hey, you know what? There's a limit here. I have boundaries.
Yes.
This is way over the top. I need to process this.
Yeah.
I just think that threshold or that boundary is just a little too sensitive right now to me. I just, it's so frustrating sometimes for me to see the levels of sensitivity or not weakness necessarily, just the inability to function with some difficulties.
Yeah.
We got to be able, we talk the World War II vets that I know.
Oh, yeah. Just came back from, a year or 2 years or however long their time was in the military, just every single day seeing horrible, traumatic events with people that they knew and having to do horrible things that, the mind can't process. And there's no downtime. We got to go take this hill, or we got to whatever, You just, and then they serve their time. And then they come back home. What do? Did they sit around and cry about it? No, they just went back to work. Yeah. And again, we're not saying that should they have probably dealt with some of the trauma that they experienced? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not suggesting that they shouldn't have, or anybody shouldn't. But again, I think there's a balance there, because I think, and I've talked to counselors about this too, that sometimes, you run across people that are big into the mental health thing.
Yeah.
And, I think their heart's in the right place. They want to take care of people's mental health. But yet, I feel like sometimes it can be, and we talked about this earlier, a self-fulfilling prophecy that it's like, if you're telling yourself you're always depressed, you're probably always going to be in a depressed mood.
Yeah.
Where, that call sucked. That was terrible. But you know what? I got to go back to work. There's other people that need me. I got to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
But there's sometimes, again, like you said earlier, there's some times where a traumatic event is so traumatic that it's like, I need to step back. I'm no good to my patients. I'm no good to my crew. I'm no good to my nurses because my mind's just not in the game right now. I need to step back. I need to go home. I need to take a break. I need to take a breather. And that's okay too. But it can't be every single time you get a difficult call.
No.
It just can't be that way.
So there's those traumatic sorts of situations where we need to have that grit and resilience. But I think there's also the work ethic side of grit and resilience where you got that colleague that perpetually shows up late at shift change or is perpetually
leaving early,
looking for the easy way. There's something to doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And even when it's a little painful, we do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that can be another level of frustration too, where we're all towing the line. We all work hard. We're cleaning the kitchen. We got our whatever. You got your schedule in the station for what you do, and then the ER. We got our culture of the way we do things.
Yep.
We typically will show up 10, 15 minutes before a shift ends. Hand off, and then we hit the ground running. Right.
So for 12 hours. Running.
Yeah, literally running. So then you've got a colleague maybe. I'm just painting a potential picture. They're showing up a couple minutes late. Or when you're going to, take out, sign out, they haven't seen any patients for the last, 45 minutes that have been accumulated, waiting for me to show up early, and their bags packed and ready to go. They're out the door before shift change. And so, there's something about the work ethic side of it too. Yeah. Being willing to do the right thing and work hard.
Yep.
And but there's balance there too, like that video clip we saw, right?
Yeah, from the pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, young med student leaving the ER. They had a crazy day. You guys can watch the clip, but
You leaving?
Yeah, my shift is over and I ain't getting paid to be here. Quite literally the opposite, in fact.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but we're sort of in disaster mode here still. We put in the extra time if we need it.
62% of ED docs report suffering from burnout.
Painfully aware.
So maybe all you lunatics need to learn how to set some boundaries. Like me. Well, see you tomorrow, Doc.
Maybe you maniacs should take that into consideration when you're working a 12-hour shift and then you're staying for 4 more hours. Maybe you should have that balance, right? Yeah. Again, we're not saying there's times where you're going to, I'm going to stay an extra hour because, like you said, you're about to leave and a major incident comes in or is coming.
There's a bus accident, I'll never forget.
You're not going to stick your colleague with 12 patients.
I stayed 4 hours late into the next shift just to help. You just do the right thing.
Yes. And you take care of each, and hopefully that gets reciprocated back. Your colleagues recognize that and say, man, Eric, you're a good guy for stepping up. You could have gone home and left me with this mess. Yeah. And instead you didn't. And you stayed and you helped me. And I really appreciate that. And, that's being a good colleague. That's being a good person. Same thing with the fire department. You got those guys that, they come in 30, 45 minutes early for their shift, every shift. Yeah. And because that way, if, they get a call, they'll jump that call for the offgoing shift. That way they're not having to stay a little bit late or not leave, on time. And hopefully that gets reciprocated. But you got those guys, they show up at, 5:59 when shift changes at 6, and then it's ironic how those same ones are the same guys that are out the door at 5:59. Yeah. And it's like, hang on, where the guy that, comes in early is usually the one that's going to hang out and, stay a little bit later, not necessarily running calls, but it's just character to me. That's just character. And again, work-life balance is super important. taking care of your mental health is super important. There are times when you got to back away, take a break, take a breather.
Yeah.
One thing too, traumatic calls, you talk about that. I remember we had it was pediatric trauma and rough call. And we got done with the call. And when we got back to the station, I may have told this story in the past, but our captain, kudos to him, came up to me, or came up to us, or the whole crew, and said, hey, if anybody needs to go home, go.
Yeah.
I called battalion. We'll get coverage for your shift. That was a traumatic, that was an unusual call, right? An unusually traumatic call. If you need to go home and hug your wife, hug your kids, do it. Mm-hmm. And I remember us all kind of sitting around. We were in the back of the ambulance cleaning up after the call. And we all kind of sat around and we were like, I don't really want to go home because, and again, I think I've talked about this before. I thought, well, if I go home, my wife and my kids are going to be like, what are you doing home? And they're not going to understand what I just experienced. They can't fathom what I just dealt with. But all my brothers and sisters that were sitting in the back of that medic that were on that call with me, that are all moms and dads, they know exactly what we all just went through and the thoughts and feelings that I was having because they're having the exact same ones. So I thought, I knew that I was still capable to run calls. It wasn't like I was just, okay, I really have to step away. But I just felt like, no, I'd rather stay here with my brothers and sisters, and that'd be more cathartic to me to sit around with them and talk about it. And you tell me what your thoughts were, and I'll tell you what my thoughts were, and that was more cathartic to me than going home and hugging my wife and kids going, what are you doing home? What's going on? And then they're all worried. They don't know how to deal with you, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I found it better to stay on shift.
Yeah.
And kind of like Chief Chief
in Duxbury, Massachusetts.
Oh gosh, Reardon. Thank you, Chief Reardon. When they had that traumatic
great
incident.
Picture of grit there.
Oh,
resilience.
1,000,000%. Well, a great picture of leadership and grit and all the things.
All of it. Yeah.
But what did he do? He brought everybody to the firehouse.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to heal.
And that's how you learn it. That's
Yeah.
how you learn grit.
Yes.
It's the resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you got to sometimes in it, some of the, mental health people might say, oh, tough it out. That's a bad mentality. Not always.
Not always.
Not always. Sometimes you got to tough it out.
And it's something that's learned over time. It's not something you can immediately just get it if you don't got it. You're not going to be able to go to the gym and suddenly squat 700 pounds.
No.
It's going to take some training to develop that kind of strength, and something you develop over time. And I think that's the truth for us too, and for a lot of us that we were talking about earlier today. I asked you to give me a couple sentences about where your grit came from, your resilience. Obviously, nobody's perfect. None of us have the perfect amount of grit and the balance and all that.
Yep.
But you mentioned your dad. I felt the same way. Some of the family heritage stuff passed on.
And I think it was that generation too. It was just, back when we grew up, men were just kind of built a little bit different. Not obviously not physically, just more mentally built a little bit different.
Yep.
They were hard workers and they provided and, those kind of things. And I'm not saying men don't do that today, but it's kind of, I think it goes back to people just looking for the easy way out. Yeah. Immediate gratification. Social media has played into that. Technology has played into that. Immediate gratification. We don't want to work for anything. We don't want to go to the gym and put in time to build up our strength to be able to squat 500 pounds. We don't want to do that. We want to, if I can't do it right now or in 5 minutes, I don't want to do it. Yeah. And so I do think that not only our family, but I think just that generation, it's kind of joked about online about how, Gen X, we were just raised a little bit different. The way that we played when we were kids, we go out, your mom kicked you out of the house in summertime.
Come back when the street lights come on.
Yeah. And you're out just figuring it out, staying alive. Like Devin said earlier, you're just surviving for 10, 12 hours, using your friends to stay alive and, having a good time.
And I think that's one of the pieces of developing some of the resilience I think that we all want our team to have.
Yeah.
Is when we have a team that's functioning healthy as a team, and somebody's struggling with something, they walk through it, they do it, they build that muscle of resilience walking through some adversity.
Yeah.
But they've got the support of a team around them.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of what it means to be a team with camaraderie,
for sure,
where you have that community of folks who support one another. I think that's part of the recipe for developing some of the resilience that we want our colleagues to have. and we really would hope our new recruits would have, is being a part of a team, the community of team, and also, like you said, doing the right thing. And that's not something that's easy to train either. Those virtues of the integrity of making the right choice. Unfortunately, there are some lazy people out there. And when you're not making the right choice, that could, it's not necessarily resilience, but, just the laziness of things. And that can be frustrating as well. And
those bonds with crews, they talk about in the military how there's no stronger bond between two people than a bond forged in war. Like me and you are in a foxhole together, fighting for our lives together. You're watching my back, I'm watching your back. I'm depending on you to keep me alive and vice versa. That's a strong, unbreakable bond that is very hard to break. And that's why, people that serve together, whether it's in the military or police or fire, EMS, in medicine, you see and experience traumatic things together. Your situation isn't necessarily life-threatening, but like in our situation, it's like, I need to know that you have my back, that you're not going to bail when things get hot, literally, that you're going to be there right with me, doing what we got to do. And that forms it's a very special bond. And that, again, that's, I think why a lot of people are attracted to the fire service is because of that brother, sisterhood, that family. But that bond is not made easily. That bond is made through resilience and grit and toughness.
For about close to 10 years, I was part of a night crew that was amazing. And like you said, it wasn't life-threatening.
Right,
which is a different level of trauma.
But you're still experiencing traumatic things.
We're in the, we're alone.
You're in the trenches of the ER.
Trenches of the ER, seeing you never know what's going to come through the door. Some days we feel like we're way understaffed. And some days we're not. But it's usually chaos. And there was a special bond, I think, between all of us. It was being forged over time. For sure. And that is a special thing. And I think that's something you experience in a team.
100%.
Isolation isn't. There's this kind of a myth of this Epicurean sort of a self-sufficiency as being the ultimate form of strength, and I really think that's just a lie. The self-sufficiency is not strength. I love the story, we've told this before, of the horses, the draft horses. A draft horse, extremely strong animal, can pull 8,000 pounds. 2 draft horses don't pull 8,000 pounds times 2, though, 16,000. 2 draft horses, 24,000 pounds.
4 times.
And even more than that.
3 times.
More than double, right? So, anyway. So, but then if you get 2 draft horses to work together, it can pull 32,000 pounds. The teamwork, there's something that happens in relationship when you're working together. You can withstand a whole lot more. And that, I think, is really what I think the kind of grit and resilience we're looking for in the fire service is more along the lines of that team member that's got your back. And we can do this. For sure. That's what we're looking for. And I think I mentioned that fire chief I was talking to in Milwaukee. That's what we're talking about. We really wanted to experience and have our crews experience the kind of team that we've experienced in the past. Of, hey, we got this. We can do this. Let's pull this together. Whereas I think a lot of what I've seen, they're not. They're in the day room on their phone. When I think you mentioned somebody out cleaning the med unit, and the new recruit was.
Sitting there on his cell phone. While everybody else is out working. It's a big no-no. But, it's definitely something that, again, I do think there's a generational aspect to it because I think that, as parents, we want to give our kids everything, right? We want to, just because we love them, right? And so we don't want them to go without. We don't want them to experience hardships. But sometimes that's the best thing that they could do is experiencing some hardships and some toughness, because that builds resiliency. My daughter last year went through the Air Force basic training, and very hard. It was hard from a dad perspective, seeing my little girl go off like for the first time. She's 19 and she's going off and she's going to get yelled at and have to get up early and, do all these things. And so that was hard from a dad perspective, but it was a billion times harder for her because she's away from everybody that she knows, foreign environment, whole new culture from civilian life to military life, adjusting to that, all these different things. But after she got out, we were talking, about, what was it like? And, just she's telling us about her experience. And she kind of said, she's like, Dad, I'm kind of glad you didn't raise me like a wimp. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, like we'd go and do a ruck or something. They'd go do a 3-4 mile ruck or whatever. Ruck, march. So they're marching. They've got, maybe a 40-50 pound ruck on.
Yeah, okay.
And they're on a march. And for, 4 or 5 miles wearing full, military gear, maybe carrying a weapon. So they got, my daughter's 132 pounds and she's carrying a 40-50 pound backpack, and she actually got assigned to this large machine gun that's probably 60 pounds. So she's carrying probably 100 pounds of gear, close to 100 pounds of gear for 4 miles. That's not easy.
When you weigh 130.
Yeah, well, that's not, that'd be like you carrying around 200 pounds. Yeah, that's hard. Yeah. And she's like, and, some of these other kids, we'd be a mile in or a half mile in and they're over there crying. And she's thinking, what are you crying about? Like, yeah, this is hard, but we're not going to die. Like, it's not that hard. Just tough it out, and she went through that hard time. And then she went to tech school, and that we didn't realize was even harder than basic was going to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Tech school was more difficult than the basic was going to be. And so she's done over this last year. It's been almost a year. She's had to go through these tests almost of grit, of resiliency. And you look at any military training, that's what it's all about. Yeah. Whether it's basic training for any branch of the military or if it's some kind of a special operations training. Everybody talks about SEALs and BUDS, and they're looking for that toughness.
Yep.
That resiliency. Like when it sucks and you're hot and you're tired and you haven't slept and you haven't ate, are you going to be there for your brother? Mm-hmm. Are you going to be there? Can you perform? Can you do that? That's what they're looking for. Yeah. And a guy your size, they're going, man, look at this physical specimen. This guy's going to be an animal. He'll drop out in 2 days. Yeah. And then some little dude my size who's got the right mindset will come in and be able to do the whole thing and survive it. Yeah. And so a lot of it is about mindset. A lot of people think, it's physical prowess. You talk to any of those guys, and I'm not claiming to be any of those guys, but you talk to any of those guys, and they will tell you it has nothing to do with your physical ability. It's all about what's in your brain.
Well, the Navy SEALs, we've talked about this. They've learned this. We've spoken on this. They used to look for those performance metrics to choose and to select.
Division I athletes, all these things,
And they were looking at those, which were important. The performance metrics are important. It's part of the job. Physically, you have to perform. Yeah. But there's also this whole side of the character performance. Mm-hmm. But how do you assess character? And what they've developed, there are ways to assess character, and they actually value that over the physical performance now. Yep. In the past, they were willing to accept those high performers, and then they would sacrifice on the character issues. They've actually flip-flopped now, and they are unwilling, and they do not compromise on the character excellence. Yep. They're willing to compromise on some of the physical metrics and performance metrics, knowing they can train them up. Yep. You can't train someone up on character.
I can make you stronger. I can make you faster. I can make you lose weight, whatever it is. I can do that for you if you have the right mindset.
And what they would say is, I can trust you with my life, but what I really want is to be able to trust you with my wife.
Yes.
And I think that character side has a lot to do with what we're talking about. Yeah. Is the virtue. It's not just work ethic. It's not just integrity. It's that the resiliency to stick to what's right, even when it's tough.
Yes.
Anybody can do the right thing when it's easy. Can you do the right thing when no one's looking?
Yep.
Can you do the right thing when it sucks and you're hurting, it's hot, you're tired,
you're hungry,
life is unfair, and you're depressed, but you still do the right thing even when the chips are down?
Yep.
That's grit. That's what we're looking for. That's the kind of person you want to hire.
Yeah, for sure.
On the flip side of all of it, again, to circle back around to balance, we can't burn the candle at 14 ends, right? You got to be able to have life balance.
Yep.
So you can have that grit and resilience. You got to look after yourself.
Yeah. That work-life balance is hugely important. You got to go home. You got to have downtime. You got to get proper rest. That makes you better. It's kind of like Jerry Wells says, like when you're at the fire station, be a fireman. Yep. Worry about your side job when you're off. And again, I mean, if you have a family emergency or something like that, okay, yeah, it's time to go. You got to deal with, you're a dad first, you're a husband first. Yeah. But when you're at the fire station, when you're at the hospital, be a doctor, be a nurse, be an EMT, be a paramedic, be a fireman, be a policeman, whatever it is, be here now. And a lot of guys, a lot of people, again, I think a lot of it is just this, I think it's more of a socially acceptable thing that we want the easy way out, just like you said. We want to take a shot to lose weight. We don't want to go to the gym and eat right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's true.
I mean, we that's what we want to do. That's the easy way out. Yeah. As opposed to, no, you got to go and be consistent and go to the gym. Discipline. I think it was Mike Tyson that his quote on discipline is, what was the definition of discipline? Yeah. And it's, take something that you hate to do it and do it like you love it. Something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. But that was what his idea of discipline was. And that's like David Goggins, same thing. He hates to run. What's the first thing he does every morning? He gets up and goes and runs. Because he's like, if I can beat that, I can do anything else. Because I'm forcing myself to do the one thing that I hate. And that's grit. That's, all these things that we're talking about.
But then you got the guy like me with a bunch of knee surgeries. I used to love to run.
Yeah. Well, now you stair climb.
No, I stair climb and I mountain bike, but
bike?
Mountain bike.
Oh, mountain bike. I thought you said bound bike. I'm like, what is bound biking? I've never heard of that.
It's a new form of mountain biking.
Yes, let's go.
No, but I guess what I was thinking was, it's like Goggins or whatever. Is that
what Goggins,
he goes
and
runs because he hates it, right?
Yeah.
But,
he's a maniac.
I think a lot of us, myself included, have a tendency to use the analogy of running. It's like, I know I've got a bunch of knee surgeries and I'm going to trash my knee by running every day, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that's what I got to do.
Yeah. Like we have to be aware of our limitations.
Yes. There's other things you can do to.
Yeah. And asking for help is a form of strength too, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, a great example. I think we talked about this before, but I remember trying to play football. I walked onto the team. I didn't have a lot of experience playing football, and I walked onto a college team, and I was pretty bad. And I remember some of the games with some of the new defenses that I wasn't really familiar with. My offensive tackle would tell you,
go left.
Number 42. Push him to the sideline or whatever.
Yeah.
But he only did that because I asked him for help.
Yeah.
It's like, I keep missing these blocks. Can you help me?
And good on him.
Yeah.
On saying, screw you, I'm busy doing my own thing. Right? No, I'm going to help this young guy.
But I went through the work. I studied the playbook.
Exactly.
And I was needing help recognizing these defensive formations I was struggling with.
Yeah.
And anyway, all that to say, there's more to grit and resilience than just picking yourself up by the bootstraps and just going.
Yeah, for sure.
There's balance. There's asking for help. And depression and anxiety. We briefly mentioned that as being an obstacle here. You're feeling a bit depressed or something. You may need some help.
Yes.
To be able to have the kind of grit and resilience you really want to have.
Yes.
Sometimes we got to take care of ourselves and get some help with some depression, or maybe there's something you need a counselor for. Maybe there's some, physical thing you got to take care of. Maybe there's some relational thing you got to take care of. Being mindful of that and taking care of yourself, your body and your mind, your soul, your spirit, who you are is your greatest asset, and you've really got to take care of yourself. But
absolutely.
It's okay.
But being lazy is not a good way to be either.
And you got to push yourself from time to time. And sometimes adversity can be a really good thing.
Yeah.
Pushing through and making it through and succeeding in the face of adversity can be a real optimal sort of an opportunity for growth.
Well, didn't you tell me once about dopamine?
Yeah.
And the good dopamine is when you do that, when you challenge yourself to something hard, whether it's you're going through paramedic school and you're working hard to pass paramedic school or med school or whatever. It doesn't always have to be a physical thing, but you want to lose weight. You put in the time in the gym. You get up early. You go to the gym. You start eating right. And then when you meet that goal because it was hard, that's the good dopamine. That's the long term, right?
Yep. So glad you brought it up, Matt. Yeah, it's like today's society is It's the thumb
Yeah.
flipping,
Yeah.
swiping generation of instant gratification. Well, that's boring. I flip through it. Well, I'm looking for that hit, that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
When you're looking for instant gratification and you're getting that quick dopamine hit, it feels good, and that's
Yeah.
why we like it.
Yeah.
Our limbic system wants to repeat dopamine release. It's that hunter sort of mentality. It's like, hey, I found dopamine. I'm going to find a pathway to repeat it and repeat it. That's instant gratification, and that dopamine release is something we enjoy. The problem is it hits the same receptors, pain receptors, the pleasure and pain. And when we receive a lot of pleasure impulses, the body doesn't like that imbalance, and so the brain actually secretes or stimulates that pain response to balance things out, because we're getting all this instant gratification by flipping our cell phones and swiping or whatever. Our body actually balances things out and really stimulates the pain centers of the brain to give us a bit of a balance. And that's why after social media and you're done, you're going to feel depressed. And I think that's a lot of why social media has been associated with depression and anxiety. Now, like you said, on the flip side, you decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to get myself into shape. I'm going to wake up early every morning. I'm going to start going to the gym. Everything in you wants to sleep a little bit longer, but you get yourself up anyway.
Yeah.
And you do something that's a little uncomfortable for a goal down the road. That pain that you're getting by doing that, the body wants to balance it out by stimulating the pleasure response. Now your brain's starting to release dopamine on its own. And then you get that runner's high feeling of, hey, I feel good about doing this.
Yeah.
You do that. You do that. That's another way to really reward the grit and the resilience of doing something difficult.
My wife would always tell me that she would know if I hadn't worked out because I'd be in a bad mood. And she's like, you need to go work out.
Yeah.
Because, and I joke, but I'm serious, that like I'll go to the gym and work out 50% because I want to stay in shape, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, nobody wants to be fat and out of shape.
Yeah.
But the other 50% is for my brain, for my mind.
Yeah.
Like I always feel better on days when I work out.
Absolutely.
Hands down, no question about it. I always feel better when I do that.
Yeah. I have been working out with a friend of mine named Connor for a few years.
McGregor?
Yeah, I wish. No. Actually, no, I don't wish, because my buddy Connor is a hero. He was an amazing guy. He's in Oklahoma City now. If he's listening to this, hey, Connor.
What's up, Connor?
Dear friend, we worked out consistently every morning for about 3 years, and it was epic. Great workout partner. Held each other accountable. Even when I go to a hotel, I text him pictures on a treadmill just to let him know that, you know,
accountability,
holding each other accountable. Well, he moved to Oklahoma City, like I mentioned, and so I stopped working out for a short period of time there. I was actually going by myself, and then every now and then I'd miss.
And nobody holds you to accountable.
There's nobody holding me accountable.
Yeah.
Technically, I never missed because I just my deal with myself was at least 3 times a week, but I'd been going 6 times a week.
Yeah.
And when I would miss a day, just like you, I just felt depressed.
Yeah.
And I really missed it. Well, I started working out with another friend, you know, Sean. And we were I think we worked out for about a year together. And then recently I stopped working out with him because I wanted to prioritize my daughter. And she wanted to power lift. Yeah. And so I started coaching her a little bit. But there was a little time there where I wasn't working out like I was. Again, feeling that depression with not working and not getting that dopamine like my brain was getting. Yeah. And now I'm working out with my daughter back in the groove again, and it's great. But it's really worthwhile to try to find something in life that you can do that's hard work. It will pay you and triple in the ultimate pleasure, the way that our body is really designed to have pleasure, not by swiping for instant gratification, but the kind of pleasure you get when you succeed in a challenge.
Yeah, when you do something hard, right? Like I said, you go through paramedic school, EMT school, you go through fire rookie school, you get your first job as a fireman, and your probationary year, you're busting your butt trying to make a good reputation and a good name for yourself in your department. And then at the end of that, you get your helmet or your shield or whatever it is, and all those things. It's like, I did it. I
accomplished something.
I accomplished something. Yeah, I put in the work. It wasn't easy. It was early mornings. It was late nights. It was blood, sweat, and tears, all the things, but I did it. And I'm here, and then that's just the beginning. But you keep that, right? You keep that discipline, you keep that resiliency, you keep that grit, and then that will just continue to pay dividends as you go through your life.
And you and I weren't born with this.
Nobody was.
We've learned it,
Yeah.
and we've been fortunate to have the challenges in our lives that we've had. And
Yeah.
some have a lot more terrible challenges that people have to walk through. And those are sometimes the things we need help walking through them, right?
Yes.
But a lot of, in my kiddos' generation, this just the social media, our kids, that they're used to this instant gratification, they all the time. And if they have to work to get something, sometimes it's something they don't want to do.
Yeah, it's like thinking about buying things, like, not even just social media, but you think about Amazon. And I'm guilty of it. I buy Amazon, but now I can go on Amazon if I need a new pair of shoes or something. Yeah. I can go on Amazon, buy it. It's going to be at my doorstep in 24 hours, as opposed to, 20 years ago, I got to go to the shoe store and I got to try them on and I got to see, do all these things. It's a whole day going to look for shoes where, oh, yep, that's the pair I want. Boop, bye, it's at your door. Yeah. And then before you know it, you've spent all this money, and you got all this garbage sitting in your house that it's like, what did I buy all this crap for? Yeah. And it's instant gratification.
Not too long ago, maybe, I guess we can go further back. A century ago, people were essentially cooking for themselves all the time.
Yes.
Right. And even maybe
and killing and cooking.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward to 50 years ago, and it's the advent of, I guess it's been about 75 years, the fast food.
Yes.
Right. And then fast food and then drive-throughs and all this stuff started happening. But if you look at today, you could be sitting on your couch, your mobile device out, Uber Eats or whatever food service. You could have the food delivered to your front door.
You've got endless options to watch on the TV.
Yeah.
You don't even have to move off your butt.
It's, and I think a lot of what we're complaining about, really, I like to think we're not just complaining, but what we're complaining about and what we see maybe in some of the younger generations with the lack of grit and resilience, I don't blame them.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm saying it's not an individual thing. I think it's where the society has gone. I'm going to pull up that quote that we talked about earlier because
pull it up.
I think that's very fitting. If I can find it, I think that's a very fitting quote. Hang on, I got to look it up.
No, it's just so easy, and when you get things so easy, and you're confronted with a challenge, it's normal for someone, especially without a lot of life experience, to think, well, this sucks.
Yes.
And I'm not prepared for this.
Exactly. Yeah. And because you know what? No matter what happens in your life, you're going to experience hard times.
You will.
Right? You can have every convenience, even if you have all the money in the world. Like Elon Musk probably deals with hardships. Richest man in the world, I think, at this point.
Well, when he built his business, he was sleeping on the floor.
Exactly.
And there's all sorts of stories.
Working like a madman,
Yeah, there's
grit and resiliency there.
You don't get to that position by accident.
Yes.
It's a lot of hard work.
But even if you're born with wealth, you're still going to go through hard times. You're going to exactly. So going through hard times, like even working out and creating discipline, that trains your body to have grit and resiliency to get through hard times, right? Mm-hmm. So when you have something out of your control that happens to you, you have that, your body, your mind, your spirit, whatever, has that experience on how to deal with it. Here's the quote. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Cyclical, isn't it?
It is. It's cyclical. Exactly right. And you look back through history, right? You think about America. We're about to celebrate the 250th birthday of America. Yeah. In a couple weeks, and you think about that was some hard people, men and women, that said we don't want to do this. And would it have been easier to stay where they were at and just, it's too hard to cross the sea and go to this unknown place and all these dangers. That's too hard. And then look, if they would have never done that, right? And then they did it. Yep. And then look what it created. Arguably one of the greatest cultures and nations that's ever existed, arguably. Some people will probably disagree with that, but, again, those hard men created these good times. And then, like I say, hard men want to take care of their children, give it to you better than I had it. I'm going to work hard so that you have the things I didn't have, all these things. Well, then we're partially responsible for what's going on because we kind of dote on our kids and want to give them everything, right? Like nowadays, I remember when my girls turned 16 and it was like, well, what kind of car are we going to buy? I'm thinking, buy you a car? When I turned 16, nobody's buying me a car. I was driving mom and dad's. I was driving mom and dad's car. You know, if I wanted to go out, hey mom, can I have the keys? You know, dad, can I borrow the car? And now that's just like expected. Well, all my friends' parents buy me a car. Their parents all bought them a car, and so it's like, again, we're creating the seeds. Like, if you want a car, did you had to go work for it.
Borrowed the family van.
Yeah, I borrowed the Suburban or whatever, But if you wanted your own car, my parents would have been like, okay, well, if you want a car, go get a job and make some money and buy your own car. But now it's like, turn 16, mom and dad are going to buy you a car. Like, when did that start being a thing? Yeah. And I get it. Like, again, we want to bless our children. We want to give our children things. It's hard to see your kids struggle. It's hard to see your kids struggle. You don't want to see that, but sometimes that's the best thing for them.
I saw an interesting article on technology, and this is the first time a generation has not been smarter than the previous generation.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting
and
thing.
Imagine all the technology that we have in the palm of our hands. My dad would tell me that there's more technology in this little thing than launched the first space shuttle to the moon. There's more technology right here in my hand that we keep in our pockets, and yet we're just getting dumber. It's amazing.
It's true, right? And
it's sad.
And maybe there's something that's a whole other topic, but leaning on technology and what are the bad things there. But as far as instant gratification goes, it's more than just the dopamine. I mean, it's also the artificial community thinking that you've got a lot of connections, but it's just comparison, and that's just increasing anxiety and depression, which causes more problems, like we talked about. But to bring it back to the grit and resilience that we want, we want to be able to, in a team, especially in the firehouse. As a medical director, what I observe, used to be in a firehouse years ago, but what we really want to have are folks that we can get through this. You got our back. We're a team. We're gonna stick this out together.
Right.
And
exactly.
Yes, it's gonna be tough, but we can do this.
Yep.
So
we just had Odessa Fire Department suffered a tragic loss last week, and that's when it's time. That's when resilience comes in. You pull together. Yeah, that's hard. I mean, that's unimaginably hard for the whole department, for the whole city, right? For everybody. Yeah. But that's where you pull together, and that's community, right? That's not fake. That's not online. That's where you really got to pull together and help each other heal and move on. And that's where you take care of each other's mental health and physical health. Yeah. And that requires grit and resiliency to be able to do that and then get on the other side of it. Yeah. So
honesty, asking for help, being vulnerable, being transparent.
Yeah.
This is that Chief Reardon modeled that for us
100%.
Through the trauma that they went through out there in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I think that's so much to be learned from that.
Yep. Well, it's a good topic.
It's a good topic. It's a hard topic. It's something that's not, found easily. Yeah. It's something that if you see it, it took a while to grow it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say for, the younger generation out there that maybe you avoid hard things, don't avoid hard things. Lean into the hard things. Do hard things.
It's really good.
That will be better for you in the long run.
Sure will be. Good topic, Matt.
Yep. See you on the next one.
Safe out there.
Thank you for listening to EMS, the Erik and Matt Show.